The moon rises over the village. No, you can't read that name anymore. The thatched roofs gleam with dew and smoke drifts up from crooked chimneys. The roads are thick with mud. She is an English peasant, a medieval peasant woman, and her days are long and silent and often bitter. The air smells of damp hay and old bread and animals that never leave. And tonight we walk not with kings or knights or lords, but with someone much smaller, someone long forgotten. A woman with cracked hands and a heavy apron, a woman whose name was never written down. A woman who woke with the rooster and slept beside the hearth. A woman whose whole world fit between the fields and the chapel and the market lane. For in the end, it is the quietest stones that remember the most. And in the end, it is the softest voices that carry the stories of the world. And in the end, it is the smallest, humblest creatures that find a way to survive. She is the peasant woman, and this is her world. And her story is the story of us all. She kneads the dough, her strong, gnarled fingers, working the bread for her family, for her lord, for the village. She knows the ache in her bones is the same ache that is in the earth. She feels the cold seep into her as surely as it seeps into the soil. She knows the land will not give up its harvest without a fight, just as her body will not give up its pain. But she persists. She wrestles the dough until it is smooth, just as she has wrestled the wildness in her heart into submission. She is a small, defeated thing, bent under the weight of her losses, bent under the weight of her years, bent under the weight of a life of servitude. But she knows the sky better than most. When the sun bleeds into the horizon, staining the clouds with its last light, she turns her face up to it and sings to herself a song older than the village, older than the names that have been lost to time. Her voice is thin and reedy, but it carries across the generations a melody of women working in the fields, a harmony of mothers rocking their children to sleep, a rhythm of life that keeps time with the seasons, with the planting and the harvest, with birth and death, and the slow, inevitable decay of all things. She has borne 6 children, 2 have died. One is taken by fever in the winter, another by the plow, but she endures. And in her quiet endurance, she is strong. The grim truth about medieval life: you live in a single-room house. One door, no glass, no privacy. The floor is dirt. The walls are wattle and daub, patched every spring after the rain. You sleep on a straw mattress beside your children. Your husband rises early, but you are already up, because someone has to stoke the embers, feed the chickens, fetch the water, knead the bread. Your apron is always stained, your feet always sore. Married at just 12, she crossed the sea to England, bringing with her a taste for poetry, learning, and southern sunlight. She spoke several languages, wrote letters with elegance, and surrounded herself with clerks, merchants, and advisors. For women, it was also a place of whispered prayers, secret midwifery, sacred herbs, and silent strength. If you want to learn more about life in the Middle Ages, you should check out the series Secrets of the Dead on CuriosityStream. There's an episode called Medieval Life, which looks at the archaeology of a village in England to reconstruct what everyday life was like during the Middle Ages. CuriosityStream normally costs $14.99 a month, but with our special link, you can get access for under $2 a month. The link will take you to CuriosityStream's website, where you can begin your subscription for under $2 a month. This deal is only available for a limited time, so don't wait. Sign up today and start watching right away. These were holy women who chose to live in solitude, typically in a small room attached to a church. Eleanor of Provence had to navigate the treacherous world of royal politics and survive a near-fatal attack. The anchoresses had to contend with ridicule and poverty. But through it all, these women showed remarkable strength and resilience. They were able to achieve their goals despite the odds being stacked against them, and they left a lasting legacy on medieval society. They dedicated their lives to prayer and contemplation and were often seen as models of piety and devotion. But life as an anchoress was not easy. They were often ridiculed by outsiders and sometimes even persecuted. In addition, they were typically poor and had to rely on the charity of others to survive. Despite these difficulties, many women were drawn to the anchoretic life. They saw it as a way to escape the constraints of medieval society and to devote themselves fully to God. Some of the most famous anchoresses were also some of the most controversial, such as Julian of Norwich, who wrote one of the earliest books in English. But ultimately, the anchoretic life was not for everyone, and many women eventually left the order to live more conventional lives. That's less than the price of a cup of coffee every month. Plus, you'll be supporting independent creators like us. While you're at it, it's fascinating to see what archaeologists have been able to uncover about the typical medieval peasant, from their homes to their diet to their clothing. These are all topics that are touched upon in the poem. Eleanor of Provence was the wife of England's King Henry III, and she struggled to fit in as a foreigner in a strange new land. To make matters worse, she had a difficult relationship with her husband and her in-laws. In addition to writing elegant letters, she was a prolific letter writer, complaining about everything from the damp cold of the English climate to the rudeness of her subjects. At one point, she was even accused of poisoning her stepson. Despite all these hardships, she persevered and became a powerful figure in her own right. She used her position to promote culture and learning, and she became one of the most important patrons of the arts in England during the Middle Ages. But she wasn't always successful in her endeavors. In 1263, she got caught up in a baronial rebellion and had to flee for her life. She was nearly killed when a mob of Londoners attacked her, as she was being transported down the River Thames. Though she survived the attack, she was never really the same. Afterwards, she became increasingly reclusive and eventually retired to a convent, where she spent the rest of her days writing and praying. What it was really like to be a medieval peasant woman, but that are explored in much greater detail in this documentary. Laywomen formed devotional communities, living together in small cottages by the parish. Neither wives nor nuns, but something in between. The series has over 24 episodes and over 700 years of history to explore, including mysteries surrounding Genghis Khan, ancient Rome, Napoleon Bonaparte, and so much more. With so much quality content, it can be hard to choose what to watch. Luckily, CuriosityStream has thousands of non-fiction titles covering every subject imaginable, from nature and science to history and technology. So once you're done watching Secrets of the Dead, there will always be something new and interesting for you to watch. They embroidered altar cloths, copied psalms by hand, and cared for the dying. Some kept relics hidden in linen, pieces of bone, locks of hair, slivers of wood said to come from the cross. Others became anchoresses, sealed into a small cell beside the church wall, praying for the town, speaking only through a window, living in total stillness. One such woman, Julian of Norwich, wrote, "All shall be well, and all shall be well, and all manner of things shall be well." She was the first woman to write a book in English. And though her name was not known in her time, today her words echo in hospitals, monasteries, and quiet bedrooms across the world. Her court was filled with Provençal music and silk from the east, but power made her enemies. When barons rebelled against the king, they turned on Eleanor too. One day, in 1263, as she traveled on the Thames by barge, a London mob hurled stones at her, calling her a foreigner, a parasite, a thief. She survived, retreated to a convent, became a patron of learning, and when her husband died, she did not remarry. Instead, she turned inward, a queen who traded politics for prayer. She died in quiet behind cloister walls, surrounded by nuns and manuscripts. Her story is one of movement, from bride to queen, from court to cloister. But her story was never told alongside the great kings, because even queens were often footnotes. You are not paid. You do not own land. Even your body is not truly yours. First your father's, then your husband's, and finally the church's. But you are not powerless. You know when to sow, when to scald milk, how to brew ale, which herbs ease fevers, which prayers to whisper for a safe birth, and which corners of the forest still grow mushrooms no one else knows about. You are strong, but you are also tired. The fields do not wait for grief. When your baby dies in the night, you still work. When your husband breaks his leg, you still work. When you bleed for the last time and no more children come, you still work, because no one else will. And because this life, this hard and heavy life, is yours. For centuries, people have been fascinated by the past, especially their own. But history books Q&A answer every question, and there are so many things that past generations simply didn't record at all. For example, what was daily life like for ordinary people in the Middle Ages? So here's a poem called What It Was Really Like to Be a Medieval Peasant Woman followed by two more surprising secrets about life in those days. Eleanor of Provence. Queen of England history remembers her as the queen consort of Henry III, but Eleanor of Provence was not content to be a shadow behind the throne. The women's church beneath the vaulted ceilings of stone chapels. Women gathered not as rulers or theologians, but as caretakers of mystery. The medieval church was more than sermons and saints, but these poems are just the beginning. The series Secrets of the Dead is produced by the folks at the channel, and each episode uses the latest scientific techniques to reveal new insights into some of history. The biggest mysteries. Plus, as a viewer of this channel, you can get Curiosity Stream for a very special price. So click the link provided to sign up right now. Medieval peasants weren't the only ones whose lives were difficult. Kings, queens, and princesses also had their struggles. Another group of women who lived during the Middle Ages were the anchoresses. Though these three women lived very different lives, they all faced unique challenges during the Middle Ages. Now check out the harsh reality of life in the Middle Ages. Or click this other video instead. Just beyond the peasant fields lies a different life. It's a life of luxury, of woolen velvet and carved wooden canopies. Her days are filled with duty, tending accounts, overseeing servants, managing cloth, salt, and cheese. She knows how to host a feast, how to entertain nobles and princes, how to manage a household, and how to survive childbirth. The humble homes of peasants who worked the fields just beyond the castle walls, people with names and faces. She remembers what it means to be fortunate, and how quickly fortune can change. She knows the value of flax and how to make the finest linen. She knows the language of flowers and the ways of courtly love, how to behave when a king is present, and how to dance with a lord. She knows the law and can settle a dispute, sometimes for years, where a woman wakes beneath one such canopy. Maid braids her hair while she eats her breakfast, warm porridge with honey and figs. She walks in the herb garden. She writes a letter in French. No letters for her, only the careful script of a practiced hand, as she practices lute by the window. The sun warms her face, and the scent of fresh bread drifts in from the kitchen. And yet there are limits to luxury. Her marriage was arranged. She cannot inherit land, not a single acre, not a mill, not a pig, not a chicken, not even a donkey. But she can keep a house running when her husband is at war. Sometimes for years, she has prayed for sons and worried for daughters. She reads romances by candlelight and wonders if love is real or just for stories. When she steps outside, she sees the smoke rising from the cottages below. The candle burns low. The fire fades. You've walked a day in the life of a woman who left no letters, no portraits, no monuments. You've watched a queen mocked by her people. You've heard the hidden prayers behind church walls, and the secrets the earth will keep, the stories that the stones will hold, and the prayers that went unanswered, the hopes that withered, the dreams that died. You have felt the weight of the crown and the burden of a kingdom. You have seen the glittering ball gowns and the blood-soaked battlements. You have heard the lullaby and the requiem. You have held the rose and the dagger, the scepter and the shroud. I am the long road home after a day of wandering. I'll see you next time. I am the ache in the old woman's bones, the chill of the winter wind, the hunger in a child's eyes. I am the taste of ashes, the smell of smoke, the sting of tears. You've glimpsed comfort, quiet, distant from a manor above the fields. Thank you for remembering what history forgot. Thank you for listening with patience. May your dreams come gently, and may your night be warmer than hers. I am the darkness between dying embers. I am the silence when the queen is mocked. You have walked in my shoes and seen through my eyes. You have lived a day in my life. I am the castle at the edge of the world, the one they called home. I am the queen who walked away from it all. It has been an honor to have you here. Thank you for walking with me. Thank you for listening to my tale. I am the choice she made on that long ago day, the one that led to this. I am the echo of her footsteps in the empty halls, the whisper of her voice in the dead of night. You have walked beside me through the market square, the palace gardens, and the silent streets. I am the keeper of memories, the collector of moments, the weaver of tales, and you, traveler, are part of my story now. And now, it is time for you to go. The candle burns low. The hearth fades. The darkness deepens. The silence stretches. May your dreams come gently, traveler. and may your night be warmer than mine. So ends our 7-day journey through the life of Queen Isabella. I hope you enjoyed this immersive experience. If you did, please consider supporting us.